in order to expose, in order to manifest that what is the truth and which side has the arguments based on Quran and Sunnah. Inshallah, I'll discuss with you those options very soon. But now let's inshallah begin our today's presentation, in which I'll share with you. There are many, there are countless maybe, but I will share with you 5 main tactics which they deploy, which they use in these polemics, which they use when they are giving the impression that as though as they are responding to the arguments. And I want all of you, please take your pens and papers, take notes of these things, take screenshots of the main points, and master them. Inshallah, if you know these techniques, whenever you will speak to a Qadiyani Murabbi or a cleric, you will immediately realize that which technique he is deploying. So, inshallah, I'll give you the counter as well. So, how to counter that technique which they will be deploying in a particular situation. Okay, inshallah, let's, without any further ado, Adnan bhai, you want to add something before I start, inshallah, bhai?
Just very quick one point, Imtiaz, I wanted to
Ji,
add that another thing people might have seen in the last year, because I know there are people who are following these streams diligently. They are following these streams diligently, and they are very, very dedicated to watching these streams. They must have realized and noticed that these people, they have nothing from the Quran or the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
All they have are quotes, names of Sufia, and their books, and that's it. That's all they will throw at us. They will throw things out of context, mostly out of context. They will even lie on these personalities, people they quote in their defense. They keep, you see, remember when they came in the beginning, they said Quran and Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah, right? Quran and Sunnah. When we started to deal with them, they forgot about the Quran and they forgot about the Sunnah. They started to bring these quotes from, Ashraf Ali Thanvi and Ahmed Rida Khan Barelvi and Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani and Rumi and Sheikh Ahmad Sir Hindi and Ibn Arabi. May Allah have mercy on all of them. May Allah accept their good deeds and may Allah forgive their mistakes. All of those
Amin.
people,
Amin.
right? So they started to play these games. So there is nothing from the Quran, there's nothing from the Sunnah when it comes to defending Mirza. They defend a so-called prophet by using people who were fallible, people who could make mistakes, who were scholars, who were not prophets. This alone shows you how low their standard is, how low they think of their own so-called prophet. They don't have anything from the Quran or the Sunnah to save him, to protect him, to defend him. They will go to people who are clearly fallible. They will use absurdities to defend the absurdities of their so-called prophet. This is the point I wanted to highlight before you start, Imtiaz. Go ahead, Bismillah. Allah give you strength and sincerity
Amin.
and dedication to continue. Amin,
Amin.
Ya Rab. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, bhai. Jazakallah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept these efforts. So, inshallah, brothers, I'm gonna share my screen and inshallah, we'll get into the topic of today's stream. Even though whatever we have discussed, that was very important, so you can actually contextualize everything, inshallah. So, let me first share what are those 5. Remember, I'm not saying that this is an exhaustive list. I'm not saying these are all the 5 techniques. There are many, but I try to basically share the common ones. Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So now, as you can see on the screen, that 5 tactics of Ahmadi or Qadiani clerics to deceive people, primarily their own people, because through all of these deception, through all of these tactics, they cannot deceive Muslims, but they somehow manage to deceive primarily to their people, or maybe some of the common Muslims who do not have even the basic knowledge of the religion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us beneficial knowledge of our religion. Now, first of all, now this first one is foundational. This first one has many names. Inshallah, I'll give you the names of this first one when I explain this first one. What is that called? Minhajun Nabuwa. methodology of prophethood. Second one, never mentioning full belief or principle. No matter what topic you discuss with them, they would love to enter into discussion. They would love to throw ayat and ahadith and this and that. Why? Because they have not given you their actual full. The key point is the full belief. Inshallah, I'll give you the example as well. Because when, I mean, it's logical that first you need to tell people that what exactly you are going to prove. What is your point? And then you give the argument. But they will never tell you their true belief or principle. Inshallah, I'll explain to you in a minute. Then number three, they would completely ignore, as though as they are blind with regard to those arguments or with regard to those positions of Mirza Ghulam Qadiani which are indefensible, absolutely indefensible, and at the same time, please pay attention, they are decisive as well. Because if anybody wants to know the truth about Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, there are a handful of things which are very simple, very basic, and they are decisive. They can tell you that 2 plus 2 is 4. They can give you this much clarity with regard to the deception of Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, but they will completely ignore them and they will go on those points on which they are trained, because they are trained on handful of things. So they would immediately shift to those things on which they have been trained, and they would ignore those things which are indefensible and they are decisive. Inshallah, I'll give you example as well very soon. And then bringing the opposite quotes. For example, you will tell them, look, Mirza Ghulam Qadiani is disrespecting Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. What would they do? They would give you a quote in which Mirza Ghulam Qadiani is praising Isa alayhi salam. I'll explain to you in a minute that how to deal with this tactic. And next one is the Mullah card. This Mukhalifine Jamaat, anti-Ahmadi, Mukhalifine Silsila, enemies of the prophets. You can put all of those things in one bucket. I'm calling it a Mullah card. Okay, they have basic, inshallah, explain to you in a minute. And you don't need to take my words. Okay, go and ask any Ahmadi, any former Ahmadi, any ex-Ahmadi whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided to the truth. For example, go and ask Bashir Bhai. He's not only a former Ahmadi, but he is now one of the subject specialists in this field. Go and ask him and put him under oath. I would say put him under oath when you ask him this question. Or go and ask any of the former Ahmadi. I would even go this far to say, even those Ahmadis who are still part of the Jamaat, who are still staunch followers of Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, if they think deeply in their heart, they would agree that an Ahmadi child is actually raised on this hatred from very beginning, from their childhood. This is instilled in their hearts and minds that rest of the Muslims, they are your enemies, they hate you, they're gonna behave in the same way as enemies of the prophets had been behaving in the past. Why? They want to basically blind them from the strength of argument of the other side. So this is bias they are basically creating in their mind. Inshallah, when I will come to that, I'll explain to you more.